Jay Floyd Speaks Life. You gotta stay in the driver's seat of your life. You gotta command your life. You have to grab that steering wheel. Using God, your GPS. You gonna have to grab that steering wheel and take control of what you're doing. Take responsibility for your actions. Make yourself accountable. Give permission to the people around you to hold you accountable. God loves us. God loves us so much. He will send people around us to bless us, to show us how much He loves us, help guide us, help feed us. We gotta learn how to receive that love. We gotta stay healthy enough to receive that love. Feed our good wolf and know how to give it. Know how to stay in community. God loves us. God loves us.
Yes.
Life.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Jay Floyd Speaks Life. I am your host, Jay Floyd, author, speaker, motivator, man, and I'm just here to talk about life with y'all, man. Just here to chop it up. You know, this here intro portion is usually where I hop in here and tell y'all what I got going on, things I've been working on this month. But I really want to talk about some things that I'm not doing, you know, seeking some downtime, some Sabbath rest time. You know what I mean? I think that's really important for all of us, you know, so I moved this particular intro session into my family room because this is where I'm usually at to get my recharge. I'm usually in here with my kids, hanging out with my wife. You know, my kids are in here right now. Maybe they'll hop up on the mic and say something, but maybe not. They might just ignore me. But, you know, I just want to talk about, you know, getting some rest, man, recharging our batteries, letting God restore our soul, like David said, you know. I love sports, man. That's a really good outlet for me. I watch football all the time. I can even get into the NBA finals, man. You know, this one is a good one. You know, watching. Shout out to the Warriors for making it to 5 straight finals, man. I know it's not always the best for, you know, one team to be going all the time. That ain't always the most exciting thing, but, you know, at least we get to see the sport played at the highest level. That's really what I like to see. You know, shout out to Kawhi for coming in and snatching that game 1. So you get to see what they're made of. You know, if you're the champion, what are you made of? You know, I love to see life dynamics played out on the court. You know, things like leadership, selflessness, endurance, you know, lack of endurance, selfishness, you know, how do you face adversity? You know what I mean? You think you're good, you walk in, you get 3 quick fouls. What do you do? Where's your self-control? Those are all I love to see that kind of stuff played out. What are you really made of? And at that point, you know, when you see what a person is made of or what a team is made of, you know, then you tip your cap to them. You know, if they win, whoever it is, whether it's not your favorite team or your hometown team, you tip your cap because you can understand this is what we go through in life, you know, enduring trials, you know, getting 3 quick fouls in life. You know what I mean? We can all make that translation. So, you know, we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff. We're going to talk about forgiveness. We got my girl, my sis, Clotea Mack in the building today. We're going to talk about a lot of things about pain, about hurt, and how to forgive, man. And she is a specialist in that. So, you know, with no further ado, right now, let's get into this episode.
Jay Floyd Speaks Life. Jay Floyd is a husband, father, and follower of Christ. After enduring several tragedies at an early age, he faced depression and anxiety for years. After being led down the path of healing himself, he realized that his purpose is to use his words, his life, and his testimony to help others make similar journeys to healing through God's love. Jay is a Christian self-help author, speaker, and life coach. On this podcast, he will sit down with people you may know through TV or social media, walking in their purpose as they talk about what makes them who they are and simply speak about life. On Jay Floyd Speaks Life.
Check one. Yo, this is Jay Floyd, man. Welcome everybody again to episode 2 of the Jay Floyd Speaks Life podcast. I got a special guest here, somebody that I really love her ministry. I love her energy. Everything about her is dope, man. I really want to bring on Clotea Mack. What's going on?
Yay. Hey, Jay. I'm on episode 2.
Episode 2. You in the first 5 episodes of anything are the special ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where you at. You in that zone.
I'm in the zone. I'm over here all bug-eyed, y'all. I'm in the zone, and I'm bug-eyed in the zone. What?
This is good, though, man. I really think it's important to talk about some of the things that your ministry revolves around. So I really want to get into it. So
yes.
Let's get into it.
All right.
You ready?
Shoot, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. All right, so where you from, Chloe? You Clevelander? What is it?
Yes, I am from East Cleveland. Let's get it right. EC all the way.
Okay, so you born EC,
Yes.
born and raised.
Born and raised.
So we're talking about, right? We're about the same age, right? So we're
Yes.
talking about the late 70s. We're talking about early 80s.
Yes.
What was it like?
Oh my gosh, it was like fireworks at Forest Hill. It was like the candy store and they had a lot of jars of dollar penny candy with those little cherries I still love, and the animal crackers with the pink frosting. That. And then you go and you get the Tahitian treat, right? And
that's the best.
Yes, that is the best. It was wonderful, and playing relay race in the street and football, and life was good. It was great in East Cleveland. It really was.
So you contrast that to right now. It ain't the same.
No, it's not.
How does that make you feel seeing that?
You know what? I pray for my city. My grandmother still lives there.
Yeah.
In the same house.
A lot of grandparents. That is a grandparent city.
It is very much so a grandparent city. She's had the same telephone number since I was for at least 46 years.
Yeah.
So to see it go down, I pray, but in my heart, being honest, I'm wondering, like, is there hope for the city? Because they keep getting leadership that may not have the integrity or the wisdom that the city needs to bounce back. And so
are they going to gentrify it? Is that what it is? Are they going to try to come and buy it up?
I think so.
The question is, what happens to those people, though? It's a lot of people, man.
It is a lot. It is a lot of people. It's a lot more people than what I thought. Just driving by and looking at the abandoned apartment buildings and the abandoned and broken down houses, it's a lot more people than what I had anticipated. And I don't know. I think they stay and maybe try to fight or hold on to the memories. In the midst of a dilapidated house, still they're staying.
Yeah, they are. They are. That shows the kind of heart. That shows the kind of history that's there.
Yes.
I know some people that are doing some good things there, though. So hopefully, shout out to my man Sean Ward with the East Cleveland Growth Association.
Oh, wow.
I know they're coming back in and buying up a lot of those abandoned grocery stores and leasing them out to people in the actual community so they can start
great.
So they can start building some businesses back up from the people who actually live there.
Okay.
So hopefully that kind of thing can take root, and we might be able to see some penny candy, some Tahitian treat up in there again.
And my girlfriend is an administrator at in East Cleveland, and I have never heard of this, because typically when you say school takeover, it goes all bad.
Yeah.
She is actually excited about this guy who's coming in and the plan that he has to really unify the city, to get parents involved, to get them achieving again. And she's a hard one to win, but she is excited. And so I'm hoping that with that piece as well.
Get the businesses, you get the schools.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So you were there. You're talking about like elementary. You're talking about Kirk.
Yeah. Ooh, Kirk.
Yes. I know they don't call it that no more, right?
Yes, it's heritage, but so what? It's always Kirk.
It's always. See, I'm from Heights, so we got that. You ain't got to look at me like wait a minute. See, this is audio only. But if you could see the look she just gave me, that was a Shaw Cardinal looking at a Heights Tiger look.
Pretty boy Floyd. I'm from Heights. He couldn't wait to throw that in there, y'all.
Listen, the moment we moved to Heights, that's what they called us, Pretty Boy Floyd. That's messed up.
That's
man.
That's you. Mm-hmm.
So back in EC, what was the family like? Parents? Both parents?
No, one parent, single mom.
Single mom.
Yeah, she had me when she was 14.
Okay.
My father was 19, but I didn't meet him until, I must have been pregnant with Chrissy. So it was some years down the line. So just one parent, very strong parent.
Yeah. So we're talking about a teen pregnancy situation.
Yes.
Okay. So she bringing y'all up on her own. So she coming strong with it.
Absolutely. No joke. No C's, no talking back, no makeup, no red lipstick. Okay. No boy phone calls after a certain time. Wow. She was very intent about making sure that we didn't repeat what she did. And so I totally respect that. Now, of course, then, you know, those prayers, I hope she get hit by a truck. You know, I think we all had one of those prayers, you know. I was never athletic. I would much prefer a book over a ball, and still do. So I knew my lane. And I was a writer. I was a speaker. I love poetry. But never got the coach purse. And I began to be okay with it because I'm like, hey, I think I might have something to offer here. It's like intelligence does. That's a good thing. Intelligence without the coach purse is just fine.
Let's talk about growing up in your household with your mom, teenage mom.
Yes.
She was 14.
Yes.
Was she hurt by that?
My mother was very, I don't know, maybe her hardness, for lack of a better word, her aggression, because she used to fight boys and beat up boys. She was very well known on the street because she was the oldest girl as well. So maybe that was a cover for her being hurt by that.
So was this the way she was raised? She was a fighter.
Yeah, she was a fighter. My grandmother worked a lot. And she was a crucial part in raising the children, straightening hair, cooking, you know, doing all the motherly things. So she, at an early age, learned how to be a mother, learned about rules and boundaries. And I guess why she, for the most part, mothered me very well. She had some boundaries and things that she expected from me. And poverty was not an excuse not to live up to her expectations.
So let me ask you this. So at 14, hurt. Probably abandonment. Did she know her parents? Did she know her father?
Yeah, my grandma, well, she had wound up being married 3 times, but my grandfather, he was very docile. He was very low-key, you know. My grandmother was the iron fist. And so my grandmother would tell stories about my mother running over him. Like, you can't tell him what you gonna wear. I don't want to wear that. I'm wearing this. And she was very rebellious, dyeing her hair and getting piercings and obviously getting pregnant at 14 because my father lived with my grandmother. So my father was my uncle's friend who came to live, and mommy like, oh, the meat is in the house. Okay, I see. And so it was very easy for me to be conceived. Ta-da, here I am. And so,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we seeing, so your mom, rebellious streak.
Yeah.
Right. Make sure that did not happen with you.
Absolutely.
She was breaking that cycle.
Whew, yes.
So that's one of the things that she saw fit to break.
Yes.
I think it's interesting. And one of the things that I see a lot are people who say that, you know, our parents or the generation before them go real hard. Real hard on the discipline, real hard on, you know, the strictness. Is there such thing as too much?
Yeah, absolutely. I've tried to balance that. In some areas, I think that I probably could have been. And what parent wouldn't say this, though? Some areas I could have been more strict. You know, we all look at our parenting like, and we're comparing it to our parents and other people who we think have proven parenting methods because their children came out right. But even recently going through some things with my son, I talked to a minister at my church, and he said, you do know that there are children who have absolutely horrible parents and they come out wonderful.
That's true.
And you know that there are some people who have wonderful parents and they turn out to be a little, you know, not so great. So he's like, how much you have to take the pressure from off of yourself to perform the parent performance. And so that's something that I do a lot because I look at how my mother mothered me and not wanting to make those same mistakes. As in, the biggest mistake I felt was that she didn't give me a voice. And so I'm trying to teach my children how to communicate, how to use their voice well, but I never had a voice. It was you do as I say. There was no communication. Yeah. There was no come to Jesus meeting. No, I had that meeting already, and this is what we decided you're going to do.
Jesus told me.
Yeah, and this is what you're going to do. So it was very much an iron fist, and I grew up that way, very passive-aggressive, very unable to express myself, very much thinking that I did not matter, especially with the sexual abuse, being sexually abused. Everything pointed to you don't have a voice. You don't matter. Everything. And I think, of course, my mother didn't do it on purpose. Mm-hmm. But in my head, just like with her, not really receiving a lot of affection from my grandmother, she was very intentional about hugging us and kissing us. We either become the thing that we despise, or we're very intentional about becoming the opposite.
The opposite, yeah.
So I wanted to give my children a voice because I didn't have one. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in my 40s just now finding my voice. That won't be my children's story.
You know what? That voice, that safe space mm-hmm. to talk, to say something. Mm-hmm. I always think about it in my house as sometimes, everybody has a wrong thought mm-hmm. and a wrong word sometimes. I don't think we give our children enough space to even make the mistake. Ooh. Before we can correct them. Our job is to correct them, not stifle them. Wow. Before they can even make the mistake.
That's good.
So I think that's one, and I know we talked about this earlier, but I want to retouch on it. Is I know sometimes it seems to me like historically, the stakes were just higher.
Yes.
For our grandparents, great grandparents, our parents even, if you make a mistake in your life, you could be done. You could get killed. It could be over for your options at a job or a livelihood. And I think the stakes was just so high mm-hmm. that was all. I mean, they had to just teach you, don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. Just do what I tell you to do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And now when you get dropped down on and you can tell me, what is it, Maslow's hierarchy, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. where you get down to emotional needs at some point. I think now we do, this is not a perfect country for us, mm-hmm. but we have moved in a different space.
Yes.
Where we do have a few more options, and to our own credit, we're making livings for ourselves and putting our kids in better conditions than we were. Yes. So the stakes are different. Mm-hmm. They don't see the world we saw. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we can always put the same pressure that our parents put. So we do got to start worrying about emotional needs, but give them a voice, like you said. Yeah. I think that's really huge.
Mm-hmm. Because now especially with the suicide rate going up and just having so much access to information, it's like, oh my goodness, parenting now is very much different. But I think that is very true, that it still needs to be them being able to express themselves and feel like they have a voice at home, because they will find, this generation, they will find a place to voice their concerns and voice their emotions.
Everybody
and be who
will,
they
right?
are. Mm-hmm.
You're going to go find it somewhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they do, like you said, they have a lot of places to look now.
Yes.
It's not like, and that's another thing. Mm-hmm. Back or even before us, really easy to stifle a kid. What else they going to do?
Right.
Now there's outlets everywhere.
Yes.
You can escape into the cyber world. Mm-hmm. You can go anywhere.
Play a game where it look like you floating in the sea. Social media. They love me on here.
They love me on here. Yeah. I'm Snapchatting it up. This dude in Timbuktu told me I look good. He gave me a voice,
Right. He said I mattered. And I think at the core of everybody's being, they want to matter right where they are. And I say that about women. I had a girlfriend ask me, like, what do you think that women need the most? I want to start this ministry. And I'm thinking, like, that's a big question. And I try to think twice and speak once. So I'm thinking, and I'm like, you know what? Women want to be accepted right where they are. They want to matter right where they are. Scars, bruises, wounds, mistakes. They want to be accepted. They want to be told you are valuable. Like, you ain't got to do nothing else. You're valuable right here, right now. That's what they want, period. And it could come from anywhere. But they want to matter. They want to be seen.
Man, that's a word. That's a word. I really hope, everybody who's listening, particularly men who have wives, who have daughters, who are listening to this, so you can understand the heart of a person and what they're seeking,
Yes.
So I think that's really true, and that's really deep. So let's go back to high school Chloe. Was she popular?
The writer, the poet, no.
So you ain't have all the sleepovers and all the dudes knocking on the door?
We couldn't feed them cats, man. Sleepover, girl. Look, if you sleeping over, look, just one at a time, and you better eat before you come, okay? Don't come over here looking for no pizza. Look, cereal. You like cereal? We got cereal.
Bring some blankets to heat us off.
Right. Yeah, so No, not at all. But I began to be okay with that because I knew my lane. I knew my lane was not with the cute people. I knew my lane was not with the popular ones. But boy, I could go with the smart ones.
Yeah.
And so there was a place for that then. Now where it's looked down upon a lot, like when you get an award and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, they calling me up for honor roll. You know, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be looked at as the nerd. You know, back then it was like honor roll, merit roll, perfect attendance. You're getting good grades. You got an A on the test, girl, you cold. So I found my place. And I was doing a lot of popular things, but behind the scenes, I was always a writer. I was always funny. I was always a poet. So those things like that I was doing, but I was beginning to get kind of okay with myself. Yeah, but not popular. No coach bag. None of that stuff.
Coach bag didn't come.
No, it wasn't coming.
So what about the boys came creeping, right?
No.
They didn't come creeping.
No, I met my ex-husband at the time. I think I was 14. He was 16. He was driving by. I don't know where I got this aggression from, but back then, it was light-skinned Jerry curl. Mm-hmm. And
we talking about the 80s, y'all. Yeah, y'all know what it was.
Don't play. Y'all know what it was. And he had green eyes. So he was riding by with his friend. His friend tried to talk to me. So Miss Slick giving his friend my number. I'm like, yeah, I can get your number too. What's your number? And there it began. So I'm like, where did that come from?
Wow.
But no, the first and last guy I told I liked him, he told me that was nice. And I mean, I had built up courage. I went in my grandmother's room. I closed the door. I was sweating. My heart was beating fast. I'm like, if I don't tell him, I'm getting ready to burst. And I said, I like you. He said, oh, that's nice.
And kept it moving?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I never again. I said, wow, this is wow. So I didn't have, and again, that self-esteem, my self-esteem was just because I was looking at the definition of beautiful and desirable and valuable from everybody else's eyes. And if you didn't look a certain way, if you didn't have certain things, then you weren't valuable. So I was scraping at trying to find my value.
Wow.
And the guys, they weren't helping me. They weren't helping me.
So you're saying at 16 or at 14, you meet this guy?
Yes. Uh-huh.
This guy ends up becoming your husband? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, so I had a baby at 16. I turned 17. Graduated when I was 17. I still graduated third in my class because I continued tutoring. So I graduated from Shaw with a 4.25 grade point average because I was in honors classes. Then went on, we were still dating, went on to Case Western Reserve. My mom was like, I will raise your baby. I said, no, because she was pregnant. My mom and I were pregnant at the same time.
Okay, now wait, let's stop here. Mm-hmm. Let's sit on this for a minute because I want to visit this. Uh-huh. For one thing, you were 16. Mm-hmm. You get pregnant. Mm-hmm. How was that telling your mom?
Oh, this is so funny. So her and I were back. We lived on Bryn Mawr. And so our house was living room. You walk down this hallway, and then it was supposed to be dining room, but we had made, I don't know what it was. So I hear her, back then you had to call for your pregnancy results, right? So she picks up the phone and she says this, Wilson. Okay. She hangs up the phone and starts crying. I knew what she was calling for because I know all you have to do is give them your last name and they tell you yes or no. She starts crying. I busted out crying too. She's like, why are you crying? I'm like, because I'm pregnant too. That's how I told her.
Wow.
My great grandmother from New York had a dream about a big fish and a little fish. Now, y'all know about the fish dream.
Everybody black know
about the fish dream. Big fish, little fish. So my family, when we told them, they're like, so you the little fish, well, who's the big fish? So that's how we broke it to them, like, mom is pregnant too. So my daughter and my baby brother are 13 days apart.
13
days apart. And the guy who I was dating, his sister was upstairs pregnant. So all of our kids are born like within the same week or two. We was just around and eating pizza and McDonald's and all. It was not bad at all. Of course, I was the laughing stock at school, like, oh, you and your mother, she was in one bedroom and you was in another bedroom, huh? Because people didn't want to see the smart girl make it. So that, me dealing with haterism, whatever we call it now, the crab in the bucket mentality started early.
So that was the fuel they needed.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely the fuel. Like, oh, what? Miss Smarty, you're pregnant? You're pregnant? I had a black teacher to tell me, oh, you're never going to be anything now. A black teacher looked me in my face and told me,
and
I
said,
would never.
What now?
You will never be anything now.
Wow.
Right in my face.
You know, it's amazing how many stories I hear of teachers saying that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's why I love when I meet educators like you who have this passion to uplift people and empower people, because we need that. I mean, I understand teachers get tired and, you know, they believe in certain things, but I mean, it's good to see people putting their passion toward empowering some young people. Man.
Yes. And I've not been perfect. My one student did. She's like, Miss Mack, remember you told me I was going to be a stripper with 3 baby daddies? I was like, I did. I'm saying, you know what? I must have been so off that day, but I apologize. You have to have humility. I did. And I remember that. She was making me mad. I said, what I probably was saying, if you stayed on the path that you were on, that's what I meant.
That's what you meant.
But we had an adult conversation about it, and I apologized to her. But
that's good.
Haven't always been perfect.
But you know what? That's what life is all about, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love the fact that you always approach things with a humility and an honesty. And it's not about being perfect.
No.
You know, it's about being real, because the real is happening anyway. You might as well deal with it.
Yes.
All right, so let's go back to this. It was difficult to understand this situation, right? So I really want to paint the picture for people, right? So you're 16, you're pregnant.
Yes.
The dude stayed with you.
Yes.
Mom pregnant too.
Yes.
That's a lot, right? So she didn't really have any space to be like, I can't believe this is happening.
Exactly. And oh my God, Jay, that's why I was so glad that she called and she had made the mistake and she was crying. I figured I might as well just go ahead and throw it out there.
We all just crying.
We all just crying.
Now that you got that call, Mom, let me
I gotta tell you something. She's like, why you crying? I'm pregnant too.
So you still graduated with honors.
Absolutely.
That says a lot, and that's a good message for a lot of people who may find themselves in that situation, that you can still do it. You stick to it. And then Case Western. So you off to higher education. What was that like?
It was...
Because, I mean, you're still in town.
I am still in town. What happens, we were evicted. I think I was 17. So we had babies. I had my baby brother. I had my daughter that probably was 1 or less than 1, and my other baby brother, same age. And we were staying on Bayless off of Superior. And I hear a bang, 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 bang on the door. Now, my mother had an addiction. I didn't know. I showed my friend. I'm like, y'all, what is this? They're like, that is a crack pipe. And I'm like, it's a crack pipe? What you mean a crack pipe? They're like, your mother smokes crack. And I'm like,
so they knew.
They knew, because in my ignorance, I didn't know what it was. So I showed them the crack pipe.
Wow.
Trying to figure out what it was. They're like, that's a crack pipe. I'm like, oh, another chink in my armor. I can't get a break. So fast forward, bang, bang, bang on the door. And mind you, I was working. So I know I was on welfare. So I would give my mother all of my food stamps to help with the house. You know, I'm 14, 15, 16, 17. And then, because Chrissy I was pregnant with her. So 17, giving her stamps, some of the money. They bang on the door. They come in, pack us up, put us on the street. I'm like, what are you all doing? Like, oh, we're putting you out. So I'm there with my baby brother, my infant daughter, and my infant baby brother. And they are packing the house up around me, literally. I am standing there in awe. And I called my mother. She's like, oh, I thought I told you I'm down here trying to pay the rent now. They put our stuff on the curb and put me and the kids on the porch. Locked us out. We had to wait for my mother. At that moment, I said, I can't do this anymore. So I was 17, moved in with my grandmother, turned 18, got my first apartment, first car. So I was riding to Case to school. So I would go down to drop my daughter at daycare on Huff. This is on the bus before I got a car. On the bus, down to Huff. Now, my apartment was about 170-something in Euclid, where Torbenson is. The apartments just got torn down. Get on the bus, book bag, baby. On the bus down to Huff. Passing Case, mind you. Get back on the bus, go to Case. Go to school, work, study. Get back on the bus, go to Huff. Get back on the bus, all the way out to Cleveland. So it was that, and I'm like, oh, God, I need a car. But I understand that God had placed resilience in me from a child. And I understand that now in my 40s. So a failure was not an option, especially after a man who could have mentored me and spoken life into me, looked me in my face and told me that I would never be anything. I'm like, oh, okay, I got this. So it didn't matter what it took. I was going to succeed. So being there at Case, I started off with the engineering major because people told me I should, trying to figure life out. You're good at math. You should be an engineer. They make good money. Great. I'm good at math.
Make good money. That's always the angle, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But always denying my inner writer and wanting my passion for reading and writing. I'm like, man, forget this mess. I know I'm at Case. I know I'm at a science school. I know I'm at a medical school, but I'm majoring in English. So that's where I began to find more of my voice and go on the path that was meant for me. But it was challenging. It took me 5 years, but I did it.
Now, let me ask you this, because I think this is an important point. I don't want to gloss over it. So you discovered your mom's addiction.
Yes.
You were evicted out of the home. Y'all still have 2 small children around, right? You and your mom just went through a few years of serious, traumatic type stuff.
Yes.
No home now, evicted. And you're making this trek back and forth across town trying to get to Case.
Yes.
How much of that stress is internalized, right? Yeah. Like I talk about this a lot with a lot of people who maybe didn't grow up in an urban or a fractured family type situation, who can't understand when you're trying to go through something like college with everybody else going through it, but you're going through it basically having PTSD. How do you think back to those days now?
When I think back to those days, I think about how God kept me, because my daughter is a nurse, and she says, Mom, the things that you've overcome, people don't spring back from. Yeah. She's like, I need you to really understand. She said, people don't spring back from being sexually abused and growing up in poverty and not having their father. She's like, people don't spring back from that. You need to know what a great example you are. You need to know that you've done something wonderful. And Jay, it was just the drive. I can't even think of, I had my fun. I smoked my weed. We kicked it. I played just sorority and things like that. But it was just my drive. And I guess maybe my mother put that in me, that failure was not an option. So I didn't really have the luxury. And I'm like this now. When tragedy strikes, I feel like I don't have the luxury to break down, to stop, to doubt to the point where it stagnates me. I have to keep moving. I have to keep moving towards the goal. And I think that then was the same thing. It turns into pressure to perform, I think. And maybe that's how I internalized it. Like, I was the first person in my family to graduate with a degree. My mother was the second one. She had her master's on her deathbed. She got the diagnosis, cancer. And she's like, okay, I need my laptop. And we like, what do you mean? Did you just hear what the doctor said? You have multiple myeloma. We all in tears and freaking out. She's like, I got a paper that needs to be turned in. I need my laptop. And so I am Cheryl's girl. Yeah. Just giving up is just not an option. I was made resilient. I got that from her. I was brought up in resilience. And so I don't think back on those times. I just think back like, wow, when I tell the story, it's like, wow. And when I see people's expression like, huh? What? What? Especially when they see me now. It's like, you went through all that? I'm like, yeah. So
tell them I don't look like what I've been through.
No, absolutely not. And I like to use my story to inspire others, but not just the story, but just who I've evolved into as a woman. Just the different obstacles and the things that I've learned, the lessons that I've learned in life. Just so not just the story, but I like for people to experience me. I'm a people lover. I am an introvert. Nobody believes me, but I truly love being by myself. I always get that same laugh. Girl, you ain't no introvert.
I believe it. There's extroverted introverts.
Yes.
I'm one of those.
Are you?
Yeah, I can relate.
That quiet time.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can do it, but it's tiring. It
is very draining.
So tell me this. I know you touched on this a couple of times. Sexual abuse. How? When did that come about? And what age were you? How did that affect you?
I probably was. Let me see. So my mother's boyfriend was the first one, and then I experienced some other molestation from family friends. So both male and female.
Wow. So we're talking about multiple instances here.
Yeah. So no penetration, but just touching, rubbing, and things like that. And my mother's boyfriend was the person who did the most damage because I was having orgasms when he was doing that. So it made me feel, once again, that old dirty biscuit.
Yeah.
Just not valuable. And then on top of not understanding that your body is going to respond a certain way. But I felt like I am having an orgasm, which means that I like this, which makes me a horrible person.
A ton of guilt.
Ton of guilt. So finally told my mother that was a big fiasco because at first, and I wish I could ask her now. I think it was her. Looking back, I think it was maybe her processing. I don't want to say as much. Then it felt like she didn't believe me because I thought that it would be, and immediately, oh my goodness, are you okay? I had saved the underwear. I saved the underwear that he had his orgasm in. My underwear that he had an orgasm in. I saved those. I said, here's the proof. They were dried up and stuff like that, but something just told me to save them. So I saved them. I showed them to her. So that an older man desiring you in that way, yet your father whose seed you were, not wanting to be bothered. The dichotomy of that was I don't know, something that I couldn't figure out, being 12 years old, like, okay, so I'm desirable this way. Is that all I am? Something sexual? Who am I? He doesn't want me and I came from him, but he wants me, but only in this way. And I'm enjoying that, obviously, because my body is responding. So there was a lot of things to figure out. Yeah.
Especially at that age where you don't have the tools to process all of that.
Yes.
There's so many of us. It's like the way that we are introduced to sex is just in a bastardized way.
Yes.
And it's difficult to overcome that, but you have to acknowledge it at some point and start to heal. But most of us never do. So we just kind of come from an angle that's a little unhealthy and try to reach healthiness at some point, right?
Yeah.
We try to go into marriage. I know so many people just walk right into marriage never knowing a healthy, godly method of sex.
Right.
It's like we don't know.
Right. Because it's shame. Because it brought shame. So even to have an orgasm with my husband or to act like I wanted sex, it's like, oh, but this is dirty. Because this is dirty, so I can't want it. And this, okay, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but this doesn't quite feel right.
So did you walk into marriage like that?
Yeah, I absolutely did. Very rigid.
Yeah.
Very rigid and very just kind of like, okay, it wasn't toward when we was about to get a divorce. When I found a little freedom, I'm like, that ain't fair. Now he getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
Shoot. Doggone it.
So tell me about marriage.
Marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage.
What age were you when you got married?
I want to say I was 24. Maybe he was 26 because
so y'all had been together for a grip.
Oh my goodness, yes, for a while. So we had Chrissy, we got married, we had 3 more, then we got a divorce. So we had been married 16 years, but we had met. Like I said, it was the summer of my freshman year. He went to jail. I was extra Christian. Extra Christian. You are not getting out, coming and living in my home. We're going to do it the correct way. So we went downtown, didn't tell anybody. I took a half day off of school. It was a Wednesday. Had a little broken ring. It was actually missing a stone. It was Cuban zirconia, but it would do from far away. From far away, it was cute. Don't get up on my ring finger.
Yeah. They ain't had social media to post it on.
Exactly.
So you was good.
I was
that
good.
distance.
I was good. Went down there, got married, came, did a half a day at work, which, wow, I'm like, wow, what this... It was really strictly, I wanted to have sex, but I did not want him to come and live with me. And I figured we had a baby together. If it was going to work with anybody, it probably was going to work with him. But just even looking back at how we did that.
You didn't have a whole lot of confidence in it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we look at each other now and like, I'm surprised we were married as long as we were because it was just 2 worlds of massive issues colliding.
Yeah. Going through the motions,
not healing.
Do you feel like, sometimes I feel like with a lot of, and I felt like this in relationships before, where you are each other's medication.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's not really love. You're just both looking for some medicine.
Yes.
And falling into each other for that medicine.
Yeah, and some sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
Like this is
what they do on TV.
Normal. Yeah. And so we learned how to, what I tell people, we learned how to function in dysfunction. So I realized that we had not shared a marriage bed all 16 years. All 16 years.
Wait, what? Rewind this?
All 16 years. He would either sleep on the couch or he would sleep in the basement. And the excuse would be like, oh, this bed is too hard. I can't sleep up here. He would spend one night once every couple of months, but we did not share we shared a bedroom.
Yeah.
We shared a married space, but we did not share a bed. We did not come together at the end of the day in a bed. And I had
That's huge.
Huge. So much to the point where God quickened me. And I called my sons and I said, come in the kitchen. And they came in like, Mom, what's up? I said, sit down. I said, I got to tell you something. I said, what we modeled for you was incorrect. Now, this is after we had gotten a divorce. I said, when you are married, you sleep in the bed with your wife. Your dad and I failed you. We did not model that correctly. Didn't even know it. Yeah. As is with a lot of relationships, whether it's your children, your parents, your spouse, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, you learn how to function in dysfunction and it doesn't even dawn on you. Something is wrong. Like he spent tons of money in that basement. Because at one point I'm like, are you not ever trying to come upstairs? You bought a big TV and a sound system to make the basement more comfortable. Is this you? Exactly. So that was the beginning of the end, the beginning of the realization that it was coming to an end. But I had to tell my sons that is not how you do things. I'm wondering like, oh gosh, how many other things do I need to pull them to the side?
But that's really good because, you realize that you didn't model something right, but what you did model right was that honesty and openness with them at that moment.
True.
That's a really good, because here's the thing, they're going to grow up and make mistakes too.
Yes.
But you showed them that it's okay to own up to it and say, I'm going to do better. So I think that's something that we all can take a key from. I love that. So how long were you guys married? You said 16 years?
16
And it was
years.
like that the entire time?
Yeah. As far as
Was there a love story in it?
No. At one point, we were like best friends. We could finish each other's sentences. We could look at something on TV and just bust out laughing. We had our own little Chloe and Reggie language. We were, at best, business partners / roommates. There was no date night. There was no kissing. I'm like, dang, we didn't even kiss. It was straight to the point, especially after the infidelity. Because what happened was, and he was always a person who liked women, liked the attention of women. Very handsome guy, very handsome. So there was infidelity, and he was acting really, really strange. This was about year 13, 14, acting really strange. And I said, you know what? And at the time, I was assistant pastor. He was an elder in the church. So he was acting real strange. He would just look at me and stare at me, and his eyes would just tear up. And I'm like, something is going on here.
Think that was guilt?
Absolutely. Yeah. I said, you're going to tell me what's going on. So he said, okay, well, we're going to go to our pastor's house. Why we got to go all the way over there for you to tell me what's going on? So I called her and said, hey, we coming over your house? Either he dying or he cheated. She said, which one would you prefer?
Ooh.
I said, shoot, I wasn't
expecting that. Now.
Right. I'm like, what? What kind of question is that? Like, are y'all serving us dinner too? Like, what do you mean? So I knew that she knew. We get there and he tells me the whole story. I'm like, immediately, that was so remember, I want to say it's 2008, February, March, when it stormed really, really bad, and they basically shut the city down.
I think so.
They shut, this was they shut it down. Literally everything was shut down. So he told me, I want to say Thursday or a Wednesday. I want to say a Wednesday. School was shut down the next day because literally when I opened my eyes up, I just bust. Literally, as soon as I opened my eyes up, I just bust out crying because I'm like, this is reality. this is not, I didn't just dream that this happened. This is reality.
Yeah. So you started going through like the phases of grief.
Oh my gosh. And I did not know until I got my therapist that a divorce is like a death.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why am I hurting so badly? What? My life got very dark. But again, because of having children, I didn't have the luxury of just like throwing in the towel. I had to soak it up. So no school that day. Snow, continue to snow, no church that Sunday. Because I'm like, how do I face a flock knowing what has just happened? No church that Sunday. Oh boy. So we went to therapy. He wanted to introduce his daughter to the kids. Now my son, who is 10-year-old, he's like, the kids are going to be fine. We're just going to tell them that, I have a baby. And so my son, the logical one, he says, isn't that breaking a commitment? And I just busted out crying because he understood what it meant.
So when you say daughter, this was a child outside of the marriage?
Absolutely. A child outside of the marriage.
How old are we talking?
Let me see. She was just born. So so what happened was the girl had been with someone else. She didn't know if Reggie was the father, my husband, or someone else. Well, once the baby was born and she was able to count back, on top of the baby coming out light-skinned with green eyes, she figured it out. So in the labor room, that's when she calls him like, we got a situation.
Wow.
So that's when he knew that he had to tell me. So, so when we brought it to the congregation, he wanted to tell our children he wanted the baby to be a part. I agreed because I have brothers and sisters on my father's side who I don't know. So I agreed with that. So I said, all right, let me brace myself. We are getting ready to take this baby to church with us. So, of course, we come in with this baby.
So you got to bring it to church.
Bring her to church.
Bring her to church before you're even in a place where you've settled with it.
Absolutely.
You just got to soldier on. That's a common theme, right? You don't even get a chance to emotionally process this.
No.
You just got to stand up and do it.
I just have to stand up.
Let me ask you a question. When it comes to the whole idea and image of the strong black woman, is there a limit to that? Like, do we expect that too much?
Yes, we expect it too much. We expect it from each other. Our men expect it, media expect it, but they we're too strong, we're too confrontational. But yeah, it is the limit, because the limit is when I cannot express my hurt. When I don't feel like my hurt is heard, when I don't feel like my pain matters, because I'm strong, I can handle it, you can make it, you've made it through everything. Look at your ancestors. We have all of these things telling us you're not allowed to hurt. And you darn sure better not express it. If you hurting, we better not see it. You better stoically face the day. Put on a little lipstick, mascara. You'll be all right. You'll make it. Your ancestors made it. Great-grandma made it. Grandma made it. You be all right. So, yeah, it's too much. When I can't, especially in church. So I'm a black woman. I am a black woman in ministry. You are definitely... What kind of example would that be when everything that I read tells me that God wants my pain? He wants access to it. But you all tell me you're a strong black woman in leadership. You are not allowed to be offended, hurt, disappointed, angry, anything.
You can't break.
You cannot break.
But God needs you broken.
He needs me broken. And that's where all of this comes around to from day one.
Yeah.
He needed me broken in places to be able to bless me and get me out.
Wow. So let me ask you this: you get into the church. How do you make it through that day?
It was a lot of crying. I call them checkpoints when I teach my forgiveness class. I said, you're going to forgive, and it's a process. It's not a one-time event, and the angels don't sing and the clouds part and the sun shines. It's not like that at all. Forgiveness is simply a decision. But there will come times on your journey where there will be checkpoints for you to become aware of where you are on the journey. That was a checkpoint, because I thought, and my therapist said, you're even trying to grieve perfectly. Like, you are a perfectionist. Like, it's okay for you to cry. And I didn't realize that was even me. Once again, not giving myself permission to let my heart break, right? Because a lot of us won't give ourselves permission to let our heart break. I have to respond a certain way. I have to act a certain way, not just as a Black woman, but as a mother, as a minister. I must bear this. This is my cross to bear. All that kind of crazy shenanigans. So that was a checkpoint for me to see where I was on the journey. Like, now you have to expose yourself.
Yeah.
You have to expose. And I felt like it exposed me more so than him, even though he was the one who had done the deed.
Well, it kind of does, yeah.
It's like, but I'm the wife who accepted him back, who is raising his daughter, who calls me mother. Here we are.
So was that step one to you embarking on this ministry of forgiveness?
Absolutely. Because I taught that. That was something that I taught as a result of that incident. It was just a one-time class, and God had given me some scriptures and things like that, and I talked about it. And the way I got it was, I'm sitting in a cage, and people are walking by, and they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them. And I'm like, it's a big, huge, like, monkey cage. And so in my head, because I see pictures, that's how God usually talks to me. I see pictures and images. And in my head, I'm saying, so y'all just walking by and nobody's going to let me out the cage, huh? Like, so life is just going on and I'm in here. You see me clearly. We done made eye contact. You see I'm sitting here. You're making no effort. It's just an observation. Oh, she's in the cage. And then the picture flashes 2 keys in my hand. And I get up, walk, stick my hand outside the cage, unlock it, and the door comes open. And God spoke very clearly to me and said, that's forgiveness.
And you're going to free yourself.
You unfree yourself. You don't have to wait on anyone else to apologize, to acknowledge their wrong, to try to make it right.
Because sometimes they may never.
May never. And so you're emotionally hijacked because of their unwillingness to admit when they probably hurt you out of their own hurt.
Yeah. And sometimes they're not even living anymore, so you stuck if you're waiting for that.
Look, very much so, but you have the power, and this is what I mean about the power of choice. Like, people don't understand. You have choices, and that's powerful. That's empowering. You have a choice to be better or bitter. You absolutely do.
So how did you forgive your husband?
Oh, therapy. Well, the first thing is, and it's interesting that the young lady who had a baby by him got married and her husband cheated on her. Ooh. And so she must have seen the seed of forgiveness in me because I was the person who she texted. And I'm like, looking at my phone, like, wait. Is this, wait a minute, wait.
So wait a minute, what did she
text,
so what did she ask you when she texted you?
How did you get over infidelity?
Oh. Oh.
I kid you not. I'm like, Lord, you are really, I knew you had some kind of sense of humor, but really?
Listen.
And I told her how I got over it.
You did it.
I did it without even thinking. This is what I mean about how God empowers you to do the things that he's asked you to do.
That's the Holy Spirit right there.
Exactly. You're not doing it on your own. So you think, I can't do that. No, in your flesh, you can't.
In your flesh, you're going to bite back.
But in him, you can. And I told her, I said, and here's my answer to you. I got therapy. I allowed my heart to break. I got knowledge about where I was. I saw bitterness on other people. I saw it on family members. And I said, I don't want to look like that. Lord, please, what do I have to do in order not to look like that?
You made a choice.
I made a choice right then. I'm like, I don't know how this journey is going to look. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I don't want to be old and bitter like that. Help me. So I went to the library. I got this book by a monk called The Process of Forgiveness. So I got books, I got articles, I got a therapist, I began journaling. That was the beginning of the transformation of me and God's relationship, because I was able to have some honest, not the, Father, Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. Not that. I was able to have some honest dialogue and understand that he could handle my anger.
Man, that's so real. You know, I tell people all the time, I just told this to my sister the other day, like, you got to talk to God the way you talk to everybody else, because God know how you talk. Mm-hmm. He know the real.
He like, that ain't you.
Exactly. He know when you cleaning it up and giving them the fake. He know that.
That's so true.
If you going to have real prayers and real results, you got to talk to him for real.
Yes, that's so true.
Because we all know 90% of the time, most of our prayers should start with, God, I'm mad at you.
Look.
Because that's really where we at.
Oh, woo. I hope y'all caught that word right there.
That's really where we at. And we skip over that and try to clean it up.
Yes.
How we going to get any deliverance? We ain't even honest.
This is what I say. There is no transformation without transparency ever, nowhere, ever.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the transformation of me, the butterfly. Because coming out that cocoon, it was hurting, it was squeezing, it was challenging me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. And I still say this now. Going through different things, like, we make it to a certain level and we think we made it to a certain level, and then God said, oh, but this little corner right here, I want to deal with that resentment. I'm teaching forgiveness workshops. I'm a minister in my church. I'm writing. I'm speaking all over. What do you mean Oh, that resentment right there.
Yeah, that one right.
Yeah, okay.
It's funny that you said that was my very next question. Is walking in that, and now you still, because it's not over.
No.
We still human. We still got more
not
things.
At all.
God has given this wonderful, glorious message of forgiveness through you in your life.
Yes.
But you still got to live life and face these challenges.
Yeah, and I call it that he's going to make sure that the anointing to do this is authenticated. In other words, we see a lot of people with the manufactured anointing. They kind of talk about something that they read, kind of know a little bit about, and it's powerful enough. But my desire to God is that I will walk in the anointing that destroys yokes. So that has to be authenticated. In other words, I have to be crushed. I have to walk through certain things. So when people are like, it's like, y'all don't understand the journey. It's too long of a story. Listen to the podcast. Y'all don't understand the journey. But when they look at me, I tell people, be careful of judging. When you walk in on chapter 13, you haven't read chapter 4. And you don't even have any idea of the introduction. You haven't even looked at the cover. You just come in on chapter 13 and you're assuming things, you're judging, you're coming to conclusions without having read or gotten to know me. So it's very important for us. And in this age of social media, we don't take the time to be intentional. And that is my word for 2019. Anybody who listens to this podcast, who's ever listened to me, that's my word. Intention. We have to get to know each other intentionally, to know each other's stories. We have to intentionally go after success, go after healing, go after those things that we've been told that we can't have because life has been hard. So I can't be a success. I can't open the business. I can't start the ministry. Yes, but you have to be intentional. And that means choice. The power of choice. It always goes back to the power of choice.
I love it. So tell me that, speaking of intentionality, right? So we know the story now of how the butterfly came out of the cocoon.
I'm
to
flapping.
Be the Clotea Mack that we know today, right? Who teaches the workshops on forgiveness, who is an educator, who is a tutor, who is all of these things. She's also a mother.
Yes.
Tell me about your children. What's up with your kids?
My baby.
Yeah.
So Chrissy, that's my baby. I tell the story, and she knows why I tell this story, because there can be a seed of rejection planted in the womb. It's a spiritual thing, and so before I was going to abort her, she will be 30. I was going to abort her because I wanted to go away to school. I'm like 4.25 GPA. I need to be out of here.
Stop your life.
This gonna stop my life. My mother's like, whatever you want. Get to the doctor. I knew that I was probably 9 weeks. I go through all the stages of the abortion. It was a different phase back then, different phases that you had to go through. Get to the internal examination, and he's like, oh, you're 6 months. I said, 6 months? I said, let me take my feet out the stirrups. I guess I'm just having a baby. I knew then. Went back home the next day. A lady on Oprah Winfrey told the exact same story, and I just burst out into tears.
Wow.
Because I knew that was God saving my baby. So she was always a little old woman in a baby's body, the light of my life. She came out laughing. She came out very quickly. Only child I had vaginally. She came out. She popped out. They had to catch her. I labored for 12 hours in silence because my mother told me, oh, you got pregnant? I wish you would say anything. Don't you open your mouth. And Jay, literally, I just wanted somebody to come and snatch my whole inside out. I just laid on the bed and just went numb because I was so afraid. And she was cleaning up. I was so afraid to say anything.
So what did you do to overcome this spirit of rejection?
It had to be a lot of conversation with her. I dedicated her and all my children back to God when they came out.
Yeah.
And even now she's going through, she's like, Mom, I want to talk to you about something. She was very, she approached me very lightly. She's like, Mom, this was just a couple of days ago. I want to talk to you about a couple of things, not in a bad way, but just to, get some understanding about your thought process during some of my childhood, because maybe it will help me. I said, baby, I welcome your questions.
Wow.
I'm not intimidated at all. If it's going to help you heal, let's talk about it. So it's been a lot of prayer, a lot of
So you were honest with her about the story?
I was very honest with her, because when she first heard it, she was just kind of like, because she heard it inadvertently. She's kind of like, wait a minute, so abortion is equated to you didn't want me. My mom, I had the same story. My grandmother was going to abort me, but back then you had to go out of the state. And my mother said, no, I'm not. No, it was my stepfather who said, no, we're not doing that. And so when she heard it, she immediately thought, wow. And so I'm sure that even that seed began to cultivate, so it's been a lot of prayer, a lot of dialogue, and her understanding, her looking at me now and understanding. She has a good understanding about God and Romans 8:28 and all that kind of good stuff. So her faith has helped her a lot. We talk. We are best friends. I love her very much. She's a very, very great person.
What about the things she's seen you live through?
Oh my goodness. She said, Ma, you should have been left him, because my ex-husband is her father. She's like, it took you too long. I'm like, this is your dad. She is very much one of those people, like, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. She got that from me for sure. She admires me for the things that I've gone through. And just like I said, that's just what I do. That's just what needed to be done. But she's very intentional about letting me know, Mom, you're wonderful.
Wow.
And I love you. I'm so glad that you're my mom. So we affirm each other verbally a whole lot.
I love that concept of telling your kids the truth.
Yes.
I mean, especially as adults, one of the things I think that, we talk about the generational issues we have is, allowing our kids to have great adult relationships with us.
Yes.
Letting them grow up. They still got, they still should respect their elders. But they can be adults too. And we can have adult, honest conversation with them. We don't have to keep things from them their entire life. It doesn't have to go like that.
Yes.
So Clotea Mack, we know the life story. We know how you got here. Tell me about what you do. Tell me about your ministry. What is the message God has put in you? And how can people take part in it? How can they get to see it, hear it, learn from it, experience it, grow from it, all of that?
What I do. So what I do, well, besides me teaching, when my mother was sick, I was taking care of her. She passed away. I don't want the audience to neglect the stirring, because there's a scripture that talks about stirring up the gifts. There was a stirring inside of me, and I'm like, even in the midst of grieving my mom, who was just phenomenal, and I got to know her the last 6 months of her life better than I had ever known her before, such a strong woman. But there was a stirring, and I call it the Genesis 12:1 revelation. And I told God verbally, I said, I know that there is something more that you want me to do. And I don't know what it is, but I'm willing to do it. So it was kind of like when he told Abraham, go to a land that I will show you. And I love the illustration of this, because there's 2 different verb tenses there. Go is present to a land that I will show you future. Now, the old Chloe, the perfectionist, the control freak, I'm like, I ain't going nowhere until you show me something. But it didn't work like that. You go, and I will unfold the plan as you go, just enough of what you need. So he asked me if I could teach people how to forgive. How? Because we've told so many times, forgive 77 times 7. I'm like, I'm not a math teacher. What is that? What number is that?
And what does it look like in real life?
Exactly. So I began doing forgiveness classes. That's the one thing that I do consistently monthly. So I teach these forgiveness classes. I teach people how to begin the journey of forgiveness. And then I minister it's very important to me to minister serve, teach, exhort, motivate both inside and outside the church, because I've had this love experience with God, and really have begun to love myself and see myself the way he sees me. And so when people are like, I love your energy, I just love it, I'm like, girl, thank you. I know what that is. It comes from a love experience that I've allowed him. And I'm very careful with my words. I've allowed him to have with me. He wants to have with all of us. But there was a point in time where, suffering from abandonment issues, he had to show me that you feel that way about me too. I'm not going to leave you. So I had to be intentional about letting him love me. And as a result, I've begun to love myself, and I've begun to let him fill my cup. And I'm like, Lord, I can't just be enclosed in the four walls of a church, because it's a lot of light in there already. I need to go into the dark places. I need to go and let people experience your love through me. I may not ever say a scripture, but I guarantee when I leave, they're like, that was something different. There's something different about her. I want them to experience you. And so my life mission is to, and if you don't have a life mission, you need to get one. Find me on Facebook. I'll help you if you don't have one.
See how she get y'all together?
Yeah, I will get you together.
By the way, Clotea was my workshop coach, in case y'all couldn't tell. She'll get you together, man. She puts you in your purpose, get you going.
Yes. My life mission is to live a life that exhibits faith, hope, and love while serving God and mankind. So everything I do, whether it's in the secular arena, I'm speaking and moderating, it's all kind of stuff. I'm just so in awe of the doors that God is opening for me. People come, I need you to speak here. I said, what do you want me to speak about? Whatever you want to speak. I said, no, I'm trusting you. You're the visionary. I'm coming to be a part of your vision. What are you feeling? What is God saying that I should speak about? And what that does, Jay, is it stretches me to depend on him. Because if they tell me I need you to speak about why peanut butter and jelly on toast is great for your veins, absolutely, I got you. I'm going to go get in God's face. I'm going to do the research, and I'm going to blow it out the water, because God is my partner. So he's stretching me. So I do videos on Sunday night on Facebook. I'm trying to convert those to YouTube. I do my forgiveness workshops. My business that I founded is called Lifted in Love. And they can email me at liftedinlove@gmail.com. And it is basically empowering women to live their best lives now. And the now is bold. It's big now, no matter what has happened before. Not when you get the husband. Not go, right? And you all will see on Jay, when he puts stuff up on Facebook, I'll hashtag go.
She'll be like, go, man. It's like, for real. It'll motivate you, man. That's motivation.
Yes.
So as we wrap this up, this question for you. What are you curious about now? What is God showing you right now? And where's God leading you? What are you musing about?
Wow. I am musing about the day I'll be able to come off of my job and do this full time. The vastness of my sphere of influence, how big it can get, because my vision board is the passport is the first thing. So I want to be able to travel and spread this, whether it's forgiveness, where I've done workshops on loving yourself, on setting boundaries, on being on fire without burning out. I mean, just all types of things. So I'm curious about where this journey to just love people and see them accepted for who they are, exactly where they are right now. I'm curious about that, because that is my passion. I'm in a minister's class with my pastor, and I was reading a chapter on ego, and at the top I wrote a prayer and said, Lord, don't ever let me get caught up and think this is about me. Let me always remember this is about you. I'm just a vessel. I can't save nobody, deliver nobody, help nobody. All I can do is yield my mouth and yield my heart to you. And it is my passion. So literally, God is my partner, and I take him everywhere. And I'm just excited for what he got for us to do next.
Wow. Listen, y'all, that's a word right there, man. I loved it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is really special. I really wanted to make sure that we took the time to really touch on a lot of the topics, because there's some really deep things in there that I think a lot of people can relate to, and they'll see their story in a lot of pieces of your story.
Yes.
So I think it's important that as we grow as a community, women and men, that we start having forums where we can honestly talk about our lives, man, and honestly relate and start building and mentoring each other, because that's really what it's all about, doing life together. So Clotea Mack, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, sis. I will tell my family that you were exactly as I thought you would be on here. And man, thank you so much. This is episode 2 of J. Floyd Speaks Life. Keep listening, y'all. Keep rocking with me. I will have plenty more of these to come with more people who are walking in their purpose, so you can get to know who they are, what experiences they went through, and what made them. And tune in again. And I'll be back in June. I'm not going to say who the guest is just yet, but I'll be back in June with another one. And thanks, y'all. I appreciate you. I love all of y'all. Keep doing your thing.